he actually might be fully recovered, so fingers crossed there. They gave us a refund when we told them what happened. But clearly, they're not the same at Gainesville Regional Airport. Delta Connection 5059, a 50-passenger flight, was a charter that was supposed to leave at 3 p.m., and they thought that they could quickly fix a mechanical issue. Turns out at 3:36, a plane that was supposed to leave for Atlanta with the Gators on it did not operate. So they gave it to somebody. That plane didn't work. They took the plane that was going to Atlanta. They told all of the passengers that there was a mechanical error and that the flight was canceled. And then all 50 passengers stood in the airport and watched as the Florida basketball team got on that plane.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a small airport in Gainesville, by the way. So most people couldn't get to Atlanta until the next day, and I believe one person ended up actually missing a funeral because of this. We love sports. We all do. But at some point, you have to realize that basketball players or any other athletes are human beings. There is a way this world works, and I can't stand it. Guys, what do you think about this?
I lose faith in humanity in airports. I'm disappointed in all airports everywhere, and I expect a public announcement from every airport.
From every airport? But
yeah, they all must be held accountable.
But it was just Gainesville and Delta.
Well, I'm sorry. Delta goes to every airport, so every airport better do something about this. Put him on academic probation. Put him on something.
Delta does not fly to Northwest Arkansas, I don't think.
Okay, Northwest Arkansas is fine then.
All right.
I'm proud of them.
Carl, what do you think?
I think that this is something that really should be, especially, they're college athletes. They don't need to be getting freaking priority boarding. You schedule a flight. You get on the flight that you have. You don't, especially you're not interfering with people. There's the funny NCAA violations where people who are getting nothing at all, they're just trying to, be college kids, and they can't even, they couldn't even get a job because they're playing sports all the time. And they get like $10 and it's going to cost them a year of eligibility. And then, but there's an NCAA rule saying you can't use your athletic ability to get stuff, basically, is the basic idea of it. And are you saying this isn't the same thing? I think it's ridiculous.
It's worse. It's just terrible. The duct tape did not work, by the way, for Noah, so it turns out maybe it wasn't worth 2 years, $10 million, considering it couldn't even make it 2 hours. Although I do have some news for Noah when he gets back. There is an airport called the Northwest Arkansas Regional Airport, and Delta does fly there to Atlanta, Cincinnati, Detroit, and Minneapolis-St. Paul. How about that? Just bad luck.
Why would they fly to Minneapolis?
Why is there an airport in Northwest Arkansas?
Actually, I'm not that surprised. There's airports. Dude, there's an airport near where I live.
No, but like, why would you call it the Northwest Arkansas Airport? Like, that's literally what it's called.
That's a better question. It's a very good question.
Continuing on, another good question, though. More concerning, Kansas, Kentucky, Michigan State, all were upset this week. Who gives us the biggest cause for concern?
When I look at these three major teams, you look at them, they were all ranked extremely high at the beginning of the season. I see, when I look at these three teams, the biggest worry I have, I believe, is it's got to be with Kentucky, I think. Kentucky is a young team, and I think that each year, because they're built as a one-and-done school, some of the time those classes are not going to be...
For your duct tape. By the way, it turns out there is does fly there.
No.
It's not even an airport.
You can't do this to me. I was so happy.
No, it is called the Northwest Arkansas Regional Airport. It serves the Northwest Arkansas metro area that consists of Fayetteville and Springdale, and Delta does fly. I believe it was UTEP. They lost today, Colorado. This is not what's supposed to be happening to Kansas. What do you think, Noah?
I don't think any of the teams that had super are freshmen, except for Arizona, are going the right way. And you know what? The difference between Arizona and I think some of the other schools is they really have a lot more experience. I guess you can look at Kansas and say, well, they have Perry Ellis, they have Nadir Tharp, but they do have Wayne Selden starting. They have Andrew Wiggins starting. They have Joel Embiid getting a lot of starting time. And then you look at Arizona. Aaron Gordon is not necessarily putting up the numbers of Jabari Parker or of Andrew Wiggins, but he's helping the team get wins, along with Nick Johnson, Caleb Tarkowski. It's just a really good team, and they play well. Clicking. They don't have the team chemistry right now.
You know, chemistry really is key. It can make the best of teams and it can make the worst of teams. I just don't think things have really clicked yet for Kansas. That's why they worry me the most. I think it's obvious that Arizona deserves to be the number one team. Now, last week,
now, I mean, they proved it so far.
Last week we introduced the segment Cinderella Diaries, and we continue with that. Going through obscure opponents that UCLA plays this season. I get to watch them, and I'll give you some, feedback on them. This team might just be for real. They defeated Cal today. The Gauchos of USC, they will not need a sledgehammer for their glass slipper if all goes well. They have this big man, and I just needed to know his name. It's not NBA talent, but he's just a little great player, very physical, crashes the board. They're only 4-3. They've struggled to start the season, but they're great three-point shooters from what I saw, and their rebounding is fantastic. So, you know what? The Gauchos, if they can make it to the tournament, they could bust some brackets as a possible 15 seed. I believe his name is Alan Williams. This guy, 6'7", 240-pound center. He's a big guy, and he's quick, too. He can get rebounds. He's a good passer. They can dominate down low. So look out for the Gauchos. Another team to watch out for, though, guys, the Dayton Flyers. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Flyers have been doing pretty well. No, what do you think about Dayton?
Well, they just lost today against, who was it? Let's see here. Illinois State. So that would be Dayton's second loss now on the season. The other one coming in a heartbreaker against Baylor. But this is an unacceptable loss. Has UMass already been taken as the Cinderella team?
We did talk about UMass last week, and we did talk about Iowa State, but we can continue.
If you're ranked in the top 20, you're not a Cinderella anymore.
No. But they were. Listen.
Can I use Toledo then? Can I use Toledo?
You can absolutely use Toledo.
Okay, well, they got the win over Boston College, 95-92. And Boston College, they're off to a rough start, obviously. But, you saw the game against UConn. They have flashes where they really show a lot of brilliance as a team. And besides the game against Purdue, they have competed in most of their games. So Toledo, beating Boston College, starting off the season 8-0, they look good. And they don't necessarily play in the strongest conference when it comes to basketball. Kent State, Ohio, Buffalo, Akron, Central Michigan, Eastern, and Western Michigan. It's not that strong of a basketball conference. So you know what? They have a legitimate shot in this conference.
No, it's possible. Carl, do you have an upset team?
Do I have an upset team? That is a great question to ask me, and I will think about that. And as I'm thinking about that, I'm going to bring up, let's see, trying to remember, because there's a team I'm thinking of, and it's hard to tell because I don't know as much about them this year. I haven't seen them.
You cannot say Iowa
year,
State.
but
Iowa State. Iowa State's my team. I love Iowa State. There was nothing better for me than Iowa State. Iowa State basketball, watching them shoot 3-pointers over and over again, it's great. And they can really play, too. They're talented. Carl, have you found your team yet?
I'm finding my team. You can keep ranting about Iowa State for a little bit.
Well, I mean, you know...
What about George Washington?
The Colonials. Oh, everyone's favorite. What about the Colonials?
Yeah, they are 7-1 to start the year. Their only loss coming against Marquette. They beat Creighton. They beat Rutgers. They beat Miami. So they have a pretty good padding against bigger schools. And now they're going up against Maryland. So they have another chance to get Kansas State and Georgia later on. So they're basically building their resume against good schools. I like this team, but what's tough is they're playing in the same conference as UMass and Dayton and VCU and St. Louis.
The
so
A10
it'll
is
be
the
tough.
best Big Ten is the best conference that's not a major conference.
The A10?
They're the best mid-major this year. The A10 is stacked.
Who do they have?
Yeah. We just said it.
Oh, right.
Alright.
You know what? Like, the Green Bay Phoenix of Horizon League. Listen, they almost made it last year. They lost in a heartbreaker in overtime to Valparaiso. The Horizon, you know, they've got some semi-good teams. You've got the Detroit Titans. You've got Valparaiso. You got Wright State. The Horizon could be one to watch. Green Bay has started off pretty good 5-2. Their losses coming against Harvard and against Wisconsin. And that was just by 3. They actually just knocked off Virginia. They've also beaten Tulsa, Pepperdine, and then 2 other teams that actually don't even have a logo on ESPN and don't give you direction to their team, but they...
I got my team, Jake.
What's your team?
Boise State.
Basketball?
Oh, that's a good one.
Boise State basketball.
What is this? Oh, I'm intrigued. Do they have a blue court?
Boise State has a... I hope they have a blue. Okay. Boise State basketball. They're in the Mountain West, obviously. It's an interesting thing with Boise State. But the biggest thing is last year they lost by 4 at Michigan State. They beat Creighton. And they made it to overtime with New Mexico. Last year they were a strong team. And they only lost in a play-in game for the NCAA tournament. They lost first round. So it's a team that was not quite there fully last year. But I think that they are going to have a run this year. I think Boise State is my team that they're going to make the tournament, and then they are going to make a little bit of noise, bust some brackets open. Especially, I mean, you look at... And no, they do not have a blue court. They just have big Bronco heads sticking out in the paint.
But they do play at Taco Bell Arena, so it's all good. Yeah, they're 8... They're 8-0. They are second in the nation in points per game, 91.9. And they actually have a game coming up. Oh, lucky you. In 3 days, they play in Kentucky.
Yeah, if they win that game, they solidify themselves as one, a top 25 team, and a potential bracket buster come March.
So for sure,
I mean, it's hard to judge them fully because they haven't lost this year yet, but they haven't had a ton of close games either. I mean, they're beating teams most of the time by a considerable margin. Yeah, you're right. They're second in scoring. It's
led by Anthony.
Yeah, Boise State actually came off.
UK, they're going to need a lot of help to beat. I mean, it's going to be hard for them to beat Kentucky. I look at them though, and I think they can beat they can beat St. Mary's.
They are
coming. They have a chance to beat San Diego State. So there's teams they can beat.
Wyoming is tough too. Wyoming is a tough team as well.
Yeah, they're coming off a strong, convincing win over the Carroll College Montana Fighting Saints.
That's the hardest. I don't know if Ohio State could beat them. I think they might be a little bit better. I'm not sure why they're not ranked in the top 5.
the Carol. I'm looking